Next up, we're going to hear from Wayne Ward at Sprint, and he's going to give us a little rundown of what Sprint is doing in the innovation space. Wayne.
Where do you want me?
Anyway, right in the middle is good.
Okay.
Okay. Distance would seem awkward otherwise. That's not your van out there, by the way, is it?
No, it's Richard's.
So you're out of Kansas, right?
No, I'm San Francisco based.
San Francisco?
Proudly San Francisco based. Okay. We don't all work in Overland Park, Kansas. We work for Sprint. We have a few people out here.
Just spread out a little bit. So when I was doing this morning, the first thing I did on stage was I recapped some of the changes we've seen over the years with the TC3 speeches. And I got a chance to glimpse a classic Wayne Ward slide. So I said, yeah, this is interesting. I'll be talking to Wayne later today. So it was a 2011 TC3 slide, and you said Sprint is really interested in M2M. And so I'm gonna head Wayne up on that and say, all right, what happened there? Like you said you were interested in M2M back in 2011. Was that right, and was it wrong? Did you make some partnerships? Where'd you go with that?
I think we've come a long ways. Number one, we now call it IoT instead of M2M because it's cooler. Yeah. It's like, you know, web hosting is called the cloud now, and it's cooler. But in all seriousness, it has evolved tremendously since 2011. I think back then it was machine to machine. It was very industrial oriented, looking mostly at private sector and B2B applications. Yeah. And what's happened since then, obviously, is everything is connected. So the natural morphing of the language from machine to machine to IoT is really what's happened, because it really is a better descriptor of all the consumer devices that are now connected online via cellular mobile networks, but all kinds of other connectivity. And we've seen tremendous amount of growth. I mean, probably back then we probably had about 1.5 million subscribers on our network. Well, we're well over 7 million connected devices on our network, and that does not include tablets. Tablets are on top of that. Right. These are very specifically IoT, consumer appliances, everything from toys and gaming devices and accessories to connected vehicles, and the auto industry is still a big focus for our industry. We've enjoyed success across all carriers in that space, and it continues to grow, and it's a really big part of what we're doing.
That's pretty cool. So the acronym has changed. Obviously, that's something that's out of our control. And you're kind of saying it's a little bit of appropriate, but it's gone from machine to machine to IoT, which I've heard critiqued a lot as way too vague. Like it's like many people said in the prior panel, like it's like calling something the internet. Like, of course, it's part of everything.
The information superhighway.
Right. Yeah. It kind of became so nonsensical that we stopped using it. But then again, so was M2M, right? Right. We were thinking of different devices, as you said, in industrial space. So when you guys look at IoT now, and once again, this is the 2011 through 2015, maybe even 16 vision. What are the target devices you're looking at? What are the spaces that Sprint thinks are hottest for you in terms of IoT?
Well, in terms of IoT, there's still a significant amount of growth in just some of the basic verticals like transportation. I mean, there's 300 million some odd vehicles between commercial fleets and consumer vehicles, motorcycles and everything that 5% are connected. So all new vehicles have some form of connected communications, but all the cars from 1996 on with the OBD2 port are available to have some kind of connectivity. And then there's interplay between smartphones and head units and things like that. So there's still a lot of growth there, but you're also seeing the price of modules, the cost of network, metered billing plans and things like that that's fueling other business models way down into the market. I think back then, the bill of materials for a connected module was, $15 to $25, and those have been suppressed way down, opening up all kinds of different markets.
And has your pricing flexibility for IoT kind of concepts really changed since then as well?
What's that?
Your billing and your pricing models around that?
Oh yeah. I mean, they're constantly evolving. I think the concept of microtransaction and micro tonnage is still on the horizon to some degree, but particularly on our wholesale side, enabling, well, let's just say robotics or toys. That's not a lot of tonnage. It's pretty much power and usage and that go into the network and keep alive. And you know, you need to get down into rate plans that are either per usage basis or a very, very low MRC to make those business models work.
So let's not relive the whole 2011 TC3 entirely. You got some new stuff to talk about, so let's discuss that.
Yeah, so I'm here to talk today about, you know, what we're doing and some of the areas of focus we have, and hope that my BD team, Christina is sitting here in the front row, I think Alan's around here somewhere. If there's anything that you guys are working on that you think you could help us with and vice versa, I've got some of them listed here, but I'll explain at the highest level of sort of what we're looking for, particularly in the business development area, you know, here locally. So it really boils down to a high-level strategy of three things. One, can we create a customer experience that is unique relative to my competitors that would cause people to take action to choose a Sprint device? So is there some kind of unique capability that we can bring to bear that attracts new subscribers to Sprint? And that could be IoT, smartphones, tablets. So that'd be number one. Number two, is there something that we can do that you can deliver from an infrastructure perspective that enable me to deliver the customer experience that I have today via less cost? So is there a way to reduce my cost to serve my existing customers? And that could be the whole range of the customer experience to the back-end process, et cetera. And then lastly, of course, very important, anything that we have that could be differentiated that could help Sprint to increase top-line revenue. So, you know, we've all enjoyed the benefits of, you know, 10 years ago enjoying this $500 a month, you know, car phone or mobile device to, you know, unlimited plans in the $50 range, right? So, oh, hey, didn't see you there, Gary. Sorry about that. An old friend. And so, so how can we deliver value to customers for attachables that can increase my revenue and deliver that experience to customers as we're looking for? So the areas I listed here very specifically, digital lifestyle, I think we're seeing a movement from, you know, carrier oriented or a carrier interaction to manage your device. You got to call care, you got to go on to sprint.com, you got to go on to Sprint Zone if you're going via mobile app, and request some kind of attention. I think we're seeing a movement towards how can we put that administrative control and mobile controls into the hands of the consumer, turn it on, turn it off remotely, being able to you know, dynamically see the tonnage used. If you're somebody like me has two teenage girls, be able to make that thing go to sleep at 10 o'clock at night and not turn on until 7 o'clock in the morning. Yep. Make sure that when she's driving, we were talking about distracted driving earlier, that I can turn that phone into a brick when I know her car is moving. I can put a geo fence around her. If I live in Walnut Creek, if I don't want her to go past the Caldecott Tunnel, it, you know, yep, sends me an alert. So all those kinds of things around digital lifestyle, some of those are available today via point solutions, but being able to drive that digital lifestyle and move the interaction and the control and administration of a family share account into the hands of the head of household, as an example. So that's one area we're looking at. Customer experience, just simplifying those interactions. So one thing that we're driving for is how do we, when we take a look at our retail store experience today, we take a look at our care experience today, and all of our touch points in Sprint, how can we move that to be more digital oriented? So can we provide a better, simplified digital experience to serve our customers? I mean, I, for one, hate calling any care. I will search for 20 minutes trying to find an online chat capability or send an email because, God forbid, I don't want to talk to anybody. Right. You know, and I'd rather be serviced like that. And so we're looking for various ways that we can have touch points for customers like me that don't want to call, don't want to be on the phone, don't want to talk to anybody, but I want to have my needs met, yeah, and do it digitally. Yeah,
and I'm like you, but then, you know, we know that there's other people who are completely the opposite, and you're meeting their needs as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a matter of balancing it, right? Instead of offering one way or the other, servicing all those needs. And you know, trying to deliver up to 30 to 40% of those interactions digitally is kind of the target we're looking for. Yep. Entertainment, obviously a big one. I mean, people want access to content anywhere, anytime, on any device, on any network, free and otherwise. And so being able to deliver a cost-effective music, video, audio experience is still something that I think, and earlier we were talking about Verizon, right, and what they're doing there. They've tried a few times. We have some services in that space, you know, but I think that there's still a lot of opportunity there.
It's funny, there's a lot of corpses in the mobile video space, but a lot of opportunity potential.
Yeah, because I think that we've tried as an industry various things. Some have worked well, some have not worked so well. And so I think there's still opportunity for improvement, to improve the experience for the consumer, but also improve the experience for a mobile operator to deliver that experience in a cost-effective manner.
Yeah.
Right? Wholesale, that's really a lot of our focus around the IoT, and we very purposely put on their gadgets. I mean, there's all kinds of things that require connectivity today that can be a combination of mobile cellular or Wi-Fi or Z-Wave or Zigbee. So being able to provide connectivity from the very simplest form to a more elaborate scheme. We have a very robust wholesale organization that's focused on delivering tonnage to companies or OEMs that build those types of devices and provide that connectivity and a single billing interface and point of contact for those OEMs.
Yep.
Accessories, that's really big. I mean, being able to have your device and some type of hardware that interacts with that device. So you have the application, the smartphone as your driver, and the piece of hardware gadget that goes along with it. The reason I put the $100 to $200 MSRP, I mean, people don't typically think, I'm going to go to Sprint to buy a toy. I'm going to go to Sprint to buy a GoPro, as an example. But we do sell a lot of those things in our stores. What we found is that area, so if you're an OEM that provides some kind of accessory or gadget that is suitable for, we have 3,000 retail points of presence, we're a large retailer, that seems to be a sweet spot where people buy and transact in our stores.
Tangent, but that's some of our former Radio Shack stores, right?
Yeah, so we have about 1,100 Sprint branded stores, and then we have what we call store-in stores in partnership with Radio Shack. So Radio Shack brought to you by Sprint, Sprint brought to you by Radio Shack type thing, and that tripled our points of presence for the doors that we sell in. And that seems to be the kind of the sweet spot. So if you're somebody that is involved in building things that naturally interact with connected devices, then and your suggested retail prices in that range, that's something that we're looking for. Robotics. I mean, I just went to a robotics show 2 weeks ago and I was stunned at how much is out there. And this is not, outer space and George Jetson and all that. I mean, these are real machines that are doing real work. We're launching one that is called Pepper. It's built by SoftBank. And that's primarily around the concierge, the greeter, the help you shop type things. But from Pepper all the way down to hardcore industrial robotics, and very specifically AI associated with robotics is a really big future area of focus for us from a technology business development perspective. And then lastly, prepaid. In times past, prepaid was where consumers of telecom went when they weren't credit worthy. Now, people just don't want to be stuck on a contract. People want to, have a disposable phone. People want to pay as they go and choose whatever they want. And it really is the new way of purchasing telecom. So no longer are folks that purchase prepaid telecommunications products the dregs of society from a credit perspective. It's the freedom to choose whatever they want and use whatever they want.
It also means, and it's not to say that the prepaid market wasn't very profitable in Europe and other places where they had it for longer. It actually was lower ARPU, higher margin.
Right.
But in the modern iteration you're talking about, it could be high ARPU customers as well.
That's exactly right. I mean, very specifically, it's an overused word as well, as millennials.
Yep.
They just don't want to purchase products and services from old telco guys like myself and Gary, and in the way that
glad you used him, not me. I'm not an old telco.
Yeah, no, he's a young telco guy.
Right.
But that's sort of a dynamic in the demographics and the purchasing behaviors of customers. So all of those areas are what we're focused on in terms of building our future portfolio. And one of the reasons we're here today is to hopefully meet companies that have an interest in working with us in some of these areas.
Great. So, if I could ask the AV team to leave that slide up, because I think I'll be cherry picking from it through our discussion, so it'll be useful to have as a backdrop for us. But before I get into asking you about these initiatives and some interesting things we can have in the short time we have, I want to thank you and congratulate you, because last night Sprint won the Fred and Ginger Award at our Spiffies, and that award is for the carrier that has proven the most success in terms of their ability to partner. And it's voted on by the startup community and the Telecom Council. So the startup community said, we've worked with Sprint and we found their process very democratic and equitable and fair. I mean, that's kind of the criterion that the startups are looking for, right? It's like, I feel like I got a fair evaluation, I got a no quickly, or I got a yes next step. So quick couple of things about that. Could you hit the red button and go back one slide? So let's, for the purpose of introducing them, but also for congratulating them too, call out Christina's here. Didn't go back? Can we go up one slide? And
there we go.
Christina, you got to stand.
Stand up.
Is Alan in the room?
Alan?
Oh, we can't call him out? All right. So Christina's been doing a lot of you're the front end for a lot of people who want to talk to Sprint. So congratulations to you as well and to you guys. And I think what I want to talk about in this little tangent here is some of the things you do really well. And Dr. Karim Taga yesterday talked about how Swisscom is a good example. And I often use them too. They have good processes and a very good innovation capture process. But what you guys do is you have the scouts out here, you find good ideas, you filter them accordingly based on the scouts criteria and what head office has said they need, and then you send them back for like a monthly meeting. You have a meeting every month or so in Kansas, right?
Yep.
And what I think is phenomenal about that is, and I've been to one of them, and you get representatives from all the different business units. They're basically required to sit in there, right?
Right.
But you tell me about this process, because I think it's brilliant. I mean, because you can't have the absent business unit kind of drag their heels and give a silent no. They've got to be there and got to take kind of a thumbs up or a thumbs down, Coliseum style to a certain extent, right?
Yep. Well, thank you very much for the award and for acknowledging that. I'd say one thing about Sprint's culture is, we're not the biggest telecom company. As a matter of fact, some people say we're number 4 in the U.S. But
that's crazy talk.
Yeah, it's crazy talk but I think we pride ourselves on being humble enough to know that all good ideas are not generated inside our 4 walls. So partnering is a big part of how we get new ideas generated within Sprint. And if we operate in a manner where we didn't have a solid methodology, that a bunch of ideas would come our way, our partners would get frustrated because we wouldn't know what to do with them. So we put in place a very specific methodology that some folks within Sprint like or dislike, but I think our partners generally like it because it's a standard methodology of bringing forth ideas, templated business cases that we ask partners to work with Christina and Alan and others on my team for, and we build that idea and we create what's called a vision document. And that vision document then goes to the committee. It's usually a director level that represents cross-functional groups in the Sprint and say, here's what we're thinking, here's what we think the size of the market is, here's generally what the business case would look like, here's generally what the net present value would be for both organizations, and it goes on and progresses from there, and not everything comes out the other side, obviously, but that's how ideation works and that's how innovation works is you bring in a heck of a lot more into the front door in hopes that you have a certain number that come out the back door. And I think Christina actually talked yesterday about several of those that we've taken through that process that are local here that are now part of our portfolio.
In my observation of why that's good and why other carriers in the room should be listening and consider benchmarking that process is because, so putting on a startup hat here, in the amount of startups I've represented, one of the problems they have is they go into a carrier and they have a champion, and whether it's Christina in the case of Sprint, but in a different company, somebody else. That champion loves that solution, takes it back to the head office, tries to get everybody who would be required to sign off on it to meet, whether it's in Japan or Germany or France or wherever. Somebody who doesn't go to the meeting, is it because they were really double booked or is it because they don't really like the idea? But if you don't go, you don't have to vote thumbs up, thumbs down. So people can, inside other organizations, can silently kill a startup partnership.
It happens a lot,
by mentally not checking in.
Not participating in the process, yeah.
And so your process kind of requires presence from all these different business units, and therefore requires, like I say, that they, tell me what you think. And if you think, and therefore, and this is, I'm speaking on behalf of you, and once again, this is my knowledge, not yours, of Sprint. But this is impressive because when you have those business units in the room, and they have to say, I liked it or I didn't like it. When they say, oh, I don't like that, then the question is, why? Well, because we're building something. Great. By what date? What will you have? When can I expect it?
Right.
So one of the business unit people who normally might be resistant to outside innovation are forced to either say, yeah, I like that, or yes, I have a project, I am building it, I will deliver it by January. And then we can say, okay, fair enough, we'll go with your project instead. But that's kind of silent no is not as much of an option. So I think the process you have is pretty interesting, and other carriers could look at that. And that's one of the reasons I think you won the award.
I appreciate the kind words. You know, we're running out of time here. I'll give you guys one very specific example that was just in the news yesterday. So, you know, a lot of talk about RCS, rich communication services in the marketplace, and T-Mobile just launched a network-based solution, et cetera. Little do you know, little Sprint launched RCS services 2 years ago. And we already have 500,000 subs on the platform. We did it in a different manner. We did it via a partner. So there's a little company called Jibe that was just purchased yesterday by Google, okay, to be a part of their ongoing expanse into rich communication services and providing more of the comms experience. And we were the first customer of Jibe. We took them through this process. We have 500,000 subs on the network, and we think that we helped contribute to the success of Jibe. They also contributed to the success of us because we were able to get to market first before any other carrier with a cloud-based RCS platform, completely interoperable with carriers around the world. And now they're going to be part of the Google family, and that will just mean more benefits to Sprint because Google now is standing behind the platform that we already have in market. And they are an example of a company locally that, you know, Palo Alto based, that we took through this process, and they just got purchased by Google.
And I don't know if you met them through the Telecom Council, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Probably
timing was right on there when we brought them out to present them to all the members at the Service Provider Forum. So that sounds great. So I'll take an extra couple minutes to talk about some of the things on the board because I want to, you know, we took extra time. You won the award. It merits that extra consideration for sure. Sprint has some interesting approaches to retail that I don't think you were kind of first to have this concept of a variety of things, but the notion that when the customer leaves the retail store, it's not just with a phone, hey, we got the contract, we got something for 2 years, but you wanted to have them know how to use the phone, be really comfortable with the service. So that was before, you know, CX was a word we were throwing around, customer experience, and this is like 4 years ago. You guys were focused on retail customer experience. So where are you now? How have you evolved along that learning curve?
That's a great question that we didn't plan ahead, so thank you for that. But it's a really good one because that's top of mind right now, so thank you. So, you know, we've evolved that. I think if you go back 5 years ago, it was called the red carpet. We wanted to make sure that customers felt like they were on the red carpet having a wonderful experience. But it was, you know, cords and scotch tape and duct tape and everything else, and 2 or 3 hours later you walked out with a phone that was, you know, provisioned and operational. We transitioned from there to build some infrastructure behind the scenes that we call Chameleon. So we'll buy a stock phone, and based on your profile and whether you're buying a Virgin Mobile, a Boost, or a Sprint prepaid or postpaid phone, that persona shows up on that device. And so we've done some back infrastructure stuff. That transitioned to a program called Ready Now. So even moving forward along the dynamics of getting you into a retail store or an online experience that delivers you a device that is ready to go out of the box. That then transformed to something we call Direct to You. So if you're like me, that you don't want to go to a Sprint store and go through this process, you can go online and then have your phone provisioned and set up and delivered to your home or your work. The next step of that is something that we're calling the collected cloud experience. So how great would it be to order a phone online? If you're upgrading from Android to Android, which is easier, and iPhone to iPhone is easier than between the two. You order your phone online, and all of your content transfers seamlessly. All of your email, everything is just set up out of the box. You turn it on, and you have the same experience that you had 2 minutes ago on your old phone that is delivered on your new phone. So shrinking that time from, and all the, you know, let's face it, it's kind of a hassle to change devices.
But what's so cool about this too is, like, if I look at the shifting tides in the air, you see Apple offering direct leases, and you know, cutting the carrier out of the phone business and the retail business, and giving customers another option. You guys are a little bit ahead in terms of giving people a reason to use your retail. And there's other, you know, there's side benefits. You're going to create value at that retail store while you have that sweet spot, $100, $200 MSRP products with some margin on them as well, right?
Yeah, and in creating that entire experience, I mean, while you're there, you know, I mean, we have these Harman Kardon devices. Have you ever heard one of these speakers. I mean, it's phenomenal. Wireless speakers, like you can create an entire stereo system off of your phone using some of our music content or any of the third-party OTT contents with these speakers. And you know, the whole I wouldn't want to be in selling the old-timey receivers and all those amps and things like that. Because you don't need them. You have a couple of wireless speakers that have tremendously good sound. You're streaming off Pandora, or
it doesn't take a tremendous amount of shelf space. You kind of pick a
no
brand
shelf space.
partner.
Take it wherever you want, right? You know, I throw mine in the back of my golf cart, right, and to the chagrin of everybody else out there.
Yep.
But I mean, but that's part of it. So creating a more robust experience for that customer, and letting the customer choose where they want to buy the phone, online, in our store. Have it delivered to them, and have it out of the box, have all of your content, your photos, all of your personalized content on your phone show up on your Note device in a matter of seconds without any cords involved. That's where we're headed.
So, I mean, we're so out of time, but I'm going to still ask 2 more questions, so we can rip through them quickly, the better. And of course, they're very easy, quick questions. You know,
softballs are appreciated.
Yeah, first is going to be what's the impact of SoftBank, and the second is going to be probably, I'm joking, the big one's a pretty big question, but as quickly as you can roll through some ideas on that. But I also want to ask about wholesale first. I think that's a differentiator for Sprint, among other things, compared to other telecom networks. You guys have been pretty aggressive in wholesale for a number of years. You have a bunch of MVNOs hosted on your network. So how do you think that sets you apart, makes you a different kind of potential partner, other than just for MVNOs, but maybe for them? How's wholesale set you apart?
Well, the first one is how's SoftBank going? I think it's tremendous.
Yep.
I mean, we've, you know, first of all, they own 80% of us, and that was a really nice way to sort of stabilize our financials and balance sheet. We've also learned a lot in terms of cross synergies between things that they've tried and or failed in their market that we've taken here, and vice versa. I think that they were a lot more advanced on, you know, Apple type products, but we had a lot of IP that we've built, like Chameleon, around Android experiences. Yep. And so we've shared what some of those advances and licensed some of our IP to them on that. We've gotten together in the marketplace and consolidated spending in a couple of different areas around third-party projects, and benefited both companies and the consumer, because that enables us to get scale and deliver services less expensively to our customers and things like that. And then from the wholesale perspective, that's always been a big focus for us and continues to be. And what we typically try to seek out in the wholesale arrangement, other than IoT and M2M, yep. Because some of those folks that build things want to be the single point of contact, so that's where it comes in with IoT.
Right.
But in terms of the MVNOs, I mean, we very strategically seek out companies that could be targeting consumers with a differentiated segmentation than we would get at directly. Right. So we've thrived. I mean, 25% of our postpaid base, you know, is Hispanic. So we've got a really significant Hispanic base, and then marketing to other border cultures and things like that, yep. through MVNOs has been a big part of our success. And then in some, you know, Credo Wireless in San Francisco, I mean, they are founded on giving part of their profits away to charity and things like that. So different business models focused on subscribers and attracting them to the Sprint platform through MVNOs, so that we can keep our brand focused on a certain segment, and we allow the other MVNOs to go after these other segments to get more folks onto the Sprint network.
That was good. All right, so with that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much, Wayne.
Okay, thank you.